Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today, at the request of a long-time donor, we are playing some Slow Depths. This is a relative of the Turbo Depths deck that I play on the channel quite a lot. However, we have the ability to grind a little bit and do things a little bit more in the mid-game. So, we do have the combo. This is our main way of winning the game. So we have Dark Depths here and Thespian stage, so we can make a copy of this. This has no counters, we get a 20/20. Or we can remove all the counters using Hexmage, and once again, we get a 20/20, and then we bash our opponent. We have the normal ways to protect it that you would expect, so we have the Sejiri Steppe that we can get off of the crop rotation also being a way of finding our bits and pieces. And our protection piece here is Sylvan Safekeeper. So Sylvan Safekeeper has been really good for me lately in Turbo Depths, but in a list like this, it's doing multiple things. So one of the cards that we are playing here, unsurprising if you've been watching my channel, is Eumidian Hatchery. I absolutely adore this card. This is one of my favourite cards printed for quite a long time. And I think it's actually really good, and this is a really nice spot for it. So this is just going to build up counters for playing the game. You know, tapping it for mana, we're getting counters on it. Awesome. Sometimes we don't have to take life. If we have an Urborg or a Yavimaya in play, we can tap it without having to put hatching counters on it. So the drawback of having to pay life for your mana is not always going to be there either. So what we're doing with this is we can sacrifice this to crop rotation, to Elvish Reclaimer, or to the Sylvan Safekeeper, and that will give us a bunch of 1/1s. Now these are 1/1 tokens. One of the ways that people interact with Marit Lage sometimes is Sheoldred's Edict, which makes you sacrifice a token creature. This will give us tokens that we can sacrifice instead. It also just gives us a bunch of 1/1s which can be using to pad our life total by blocking some massive like Murktide Regents or whatever. Or we can just pressure our opponent and get like a little bit of beatdown going on between this and like Reclaimers and sort of get there. So this does a lot of work for us. Also, the little bodies that come off of this work with Cabal Therapy. Now you might be looking at this and saying you don't really have that many creatures to enable Cabal Therapy. However, we have this card Malevolent Rumble. This card is obviously pretty good. You see it in lands builds. So you reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put a permanent card from among them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. So putting a Cabal Therapy into our graveyard is a fine place for it to be. And we also get this 0/1 Eldrazi Spawn, which then can just immediately fire off the Cabal Therapy. This can also ramp us into a 4-drop, something like an Icetill Explorer. So this card is pretty darn good in my opinion. Now, it does come at a hefty price tag of 4, which is not exactly where you always want to be in Legacy, but we're a heavy mana deck here. We've even got Mox Diamonds as well, and we've got the Malevolent Rumble, so we've got stuff to jump up the curve. This is Exploration and Crucible of Worlds on the same card. And you also get to mill, which can get you some more value along the way. But this just means that if we've gone for a combo and it's gone wrong, we play Icetill Explorer, then we get both of our combo pieces out of the graveyard straight away. That is quite phenomenal to me. We've only got 2 because, like I said, it's something we want later on. This is kind of our second wave, if you will. But Malevolent Rumble can find it and does some other cool stuff. If we want some second wave stuff, we also have Life from the Loam, which pairs nicely with the Malevolent Rumble. We've also got a pretty deep lands package here. So we've got the ability to get the Bojuka Bog, which is just essential for the format right now. We have Maze of Ith to protect our life total a little bit. We've already mentioned the Sejiri Steppe. We've got the Ghost Quarter, which is teaming up with a Wasteland. So we've got one of each. So we can just go Icetill Explorer and just double Ghost Quarter every turn until our opponent has no lands. But we can also Wasteland to get rid of stuff. So we just have the ability to get different tools for different jobs. And then we have the Talon Gates as well, which can be used to protect our creature or phase out a blocker. So we've got a selection of tools at our disposal, as well as absolute bangers like Thoughtseize, which teams up with this Cabal Therapy. And quite often with this deck, you only care about very specific cards your opponent has when you're playing a 20/20 strategy. So a blind Cabal Therapy is going to be quite good a lot of the time because you know what you need to hit from your opponent's deck. If they don't have it, then you don't mind. And if they do have it, you take it out. So the Cabal Therapy doesn't always need to have the guys to still be really good. And if we ever see our opponent's hand with something like a Thoughtseize, then we're able to get some really good value off the Cabal Therapy. This is my favourite discard spell ever printed, actually. So yeah, that's the list. Sideboard-wise, what have we got? We've got a Karakas and a Tabernacle that we can add in for certain matchups. We've got 4 Abrupt Decay, which is kind of my generic blow stuff up card of choice when I play decks that look like this. We've got another Safekeeper for when these cards are good. They're really good. So let's bang in another one. 3 Collector Ouphes, 4 Endurance, and a Faerie Macabre. So the Endurance is going to really help versus the tempo-y matchups. We can just keep their creatures down and just keep blocking. And then we have Collector Ouphes for like your Mystic Forges and Storm and all that sort of jazz. So I think we've got some really good tools to work with here. Sorry if the deck tech's been a little bit longer than normal, but I wanted to explain all the choices of the cards in here because somebody has donated to see this and let me build this, and this is what we've come up with. I think a few things we just need to mention. We only have 3 Urborg instead of 4. We're not trying to go as fast here. And to make room for all of our extra tech, like the Eumidian Hatchery and stuff, cuts had to be made somewhere. So that's what we've decided to go for. So let's see how it pans out. Please remember to like and subscribe. And if you've got any decks you'd like to see on the channel, please get in touch via the Discord or my Patreon. Both are linked in the description. Let's jam some slow depths. If you are looking to buy some Magic cards, not only does 3for1 Trading have a wonderful online store linked in the description of this video, but they will also have booths at upcoming events. MagicCon Atlanta from the 26th to 28th of September, Eternal Weekend Pittsburgh from the 9th to the 12th of October, and Spiel 25 in Essen from the 23rd to the 26th of October. Whether you're looking to sell off cards you don't need or add more to your collection, 3for1 Trading has got you covered. Alright, our very first hand. Let's have a look at this one. We've got Thoughtseize into Cabal Therapy, pretty darn good. We've got the Malevolent Rumble and the Life from the Loam. This looks like a really good hand. Our opponent's mulling into 6 cards and they are keeping on 6. So let's have a look at what those 6 cards are. We will begin with our Swamp into Thoughtseize. Let's see how much damage we can do here. Cling to Dust, Prismatic Endings, Swords to Plowshares, Voice of Victory. Do we care about any of these cards? We can take away their pressure. I think we just take away the plow though. We don't necessarily have the combo rolled up just yet, but we do have it inevitably because that's what Life from the Loam says. Eventually you'll find the thing you're looking for. Marshfats, Plains. They drew a 1-drop. Not bad. Okay, I think I'm quite into taking this Voice of Victory. Okay, does that change anything here? The fact that this isn't a Bayou is kind of annoying right now. I think it was right to lead off on the Swamp instead of trying to get the Bayou here because we just don't need to expose ourselves to a Wasteland. But we have some choices. Cling to Dust is obviously useful against the Life from the Loam, but that's not what I'm really worried about. Do we need to be worried about this Voice of Victory? I don't think we do. Which probably means we're just a little turn too slow from where I'd like to be here. So maybe we just need to take the pressure off with the Cabal Therapy and we do hit the Voice of Victory. I think that makes some sense here. We do not have Surveil Land in our deck, which is something I really wanted, but I couldn't think of how to squeeze it in. If we play this out, we're not exposing our Dark Depths, but gives us the draw of hitting the Hexmage next turn. The life link of this Ocelot Pride is irritating, and the Cling to Dust is not nothing either. But if we're just taking 1 and they're getting a guy, that'll be okay. Presumably they play out the Marshfats here. I don't know if they're going to try and burn the Cling to Dust. They could burn it on the Cabal Therapy, which is a nice thing for us to hang out. Okay, they drew a Swamp, so we have information here. Yep, so they are burning the Cling on something we don't really care about. That's good news. I'm not going to crack with this fetch land. There's no need to right now. We can do it on our turn. Cabal Therapy. That's not really what I'm about. I think this does have to be a Bayou. And then we deploy a Thespian stage, having successfully baited out the thing. We can do some Life from Loam shenanigans in a bit, but I think first things first, we're just going to Rumble. A Mox Diamond isn't actually that helpful. I'm going to take the Urborg. We could take the Mox Diamond because we can always get stuff back anyway with the Loam. We could just play a Loam right now, but I think we're better off actually Cabal Therapying our opponent because we can do it twice. I'll take the Mox. So now we will hit our opponent here. We'll name the Prismatic Ending we know about. And then we can always flash it back using this Eldrazi spawn. I'm enjoying this play pattern of having Cabal Therapies with disposable spawns. We could have gone a turn earlier if we'd have led off on a Bayou, but if they'd have just wastelanded us, then obviously we would have been a turn slower and not been... Okay, so we're getting a plow out of our hand anyway, so that's fine by me. So in a way, we did get 2 cards with our Cabal Therapy, which is not necessarily the exact way we planned it out. Next turn, we can make a 20-20. Do we play around our opponent having Wasteland, or do we play around our opponent having Prismatic Ending? I think our deck is much better suited to beating Wastelands because we just recur them over and over again. But they are going up on life, which is irritating. It means we're going to have to connect twice with our Marit-Lage. So we're probably on blocks with this Marit-Lage. Well, that's interesting. So we go Mox Diamond, Pitch Dark Depths. Then we loan back Yeah, that works. They've got no cards in hand, so we know this will work. They can't flash this back because this is 4 mana. So we play the Mox Diamond, get rid of this. Then we loan back this, this, and this. Let's go 1 and green. And then we play out our little friend here. And then we get a Dark Depths into play. And we still have this Cabal Therapy if we need it for some reason. But our opponent can gain some life here. Now the first strike ends up being better than the Indestructible here because they... Actually no, it doesn't, because they have first strike as well, don't they? Doesn't come up very often, the first strike on the 1/1, but it is very relevant here. I assume they go and get the Shadowy Backstreets to Surveil. There it is. So our plan here is probably just make the guy block in combat. Because we are using the Hexmage, it means we can get back the depths and already have the stage in play next turn. Our opponent might be thinking, am I going to bluff my opponent here? Because they can try and bluff us and you leave it on top and see if that changes the way we play. But because we're sort of not like super under the gun, but we do want to clear this Ocelot Pride this turn. So we are kind of going to be playing this in combat to block. I don't want to get caught out by a Prismatic Ending. How many Prismatic Endings do they realistically play in their deck though? I can't imagine it's more than 2. So maybe we just take the chance here, remove the counters in our opponent's upkeep. And that way we have something that they have to plow. Because if they have a Wasteland here, that is kind of annoying. Because we have to block, go for it, and then we have to go again the next turn. So I think it works out best for us to play around the Wasteland here, just so we can get the 20/20 body in. Our opponent's thinking long and hard on this one. They put the card on top of their library. Alright. If it's your second Prismatic Ending... Now, they could be the Mardu build. If they're the Mardu build, maybe there's more reason for them to have more Prismatic Endings, so they can get it up to a high number. So they have to attack here because they need the life gain. They didn't have a Prismatic Ending, so we're either gaining 20 or we're putting them to 1 on our next combat step. Orcish Bowmasters. Okay, they're pinging down their own Ocelot Pride. That's interesting. Wait, are they pinging down their own Ocelot Pride? Why, that wouldn't make sense. No, they just ping us. Because we don't have the life gain here. What am I talking about? Alright. So they have the City's Blessing now. So they're going to make more guys. So they're going to make an Orc Army token that immediately dies, right? Yeah, okay. How much damage is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do we need to dredge this? Is that better? It gets us a Marit Lage on blocks, perhaps. So we go 2 mana to get it back. No, we still don't have enough to get this. I think we have to draw a regular card here. An Icetill Explorer. That's a good one, isn't it? It's the sort of thing we want here. So we attack with our massive yacht. That puts our opponent a bit lower. And then we will play this out. Then play out our Icetill Explorer. And then we play out our depths. And then we play out... we'll just always yield to this. A Wasteland. Is that useful here? We don't get to play any more lands because we play the Urborg and the Dark Depths. So we're 1 mana shy of reactivating this. But we have a blocker. We have a lot of damages. I think when it comes to blocks, we probably have to block the Orc Army. Because this could represent more damage. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If we block the Orc Army. First showing of Icetill Explorer. I don't know how they get over the line. But they might have some cards that I don't know about. So I'm not overly familiar with these energy shells. Alright, so here is the Bowmaster. So we've correctly blocked in a way that we don't die here, right? So they ping us for 1. We're going to win this game on 1 life, if I can do maths. Yes, we're going to win this game on 1 life. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Just counting over and over again because I'm worried. Okay, and then they have no cards in hand, and we managed to get the game. That was pretty sweet. Cabal Therapy looking really good here. So our opponent's just got a bunch of annoying little guys. This is why we have the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale. It's a nice sideboard card to have. I'm pretty into having just some removal because we are a slightly slower build. We're not trying to like super run into our opponent and get things done that way. We just want to have the tools that we have here. So I think we want the Sylvan Safekeeper. You can probably bin off a bunch of discard. Even though the Cabal Therapies were pretty useful there, this is kind of going to be doing the same sort of thing. And that's just A-okay with me. Yeah, we just get rid of some discard spells. I'll leave a Cabal Therapy in. Oh, sorry, we're 61 card deck, aren't we? So we have 2 Cabal Therapies in. Is that better or worse than having an Endurance? Also, do we want a Karakas? Our opponent could be playing Felia. That is worth Karakasing. Is that better than having access to a Cabal Therapy? I'm not convinced, actually. I think we like it like this. Like, we've brought in 4 removal spells and a thing that's going to tap our opponent's mana down in a big way. Okay, so this is a turn 3 with Sylvan Safekeeper protection of 1. Okay, I keep this. Oh, we should have brought out the Bojuka Bog, actually. We know they've got the Cling to Dust, though, which might be something we want to hit. And it is just a land, but I think we probably would have been better off having the Cabal Therapy. Just have a third one of those in. Could also just board in the Endurance because it's bigger than their guys. We might try that if we go to a game 3. It's a guy. A Eumidian Hatchery. Well, sign me up. This is what my life is these days. Just casting Eumidian Hatchery. Or sorry, playing Eumidian Hatchery every day. That's what my soul wants me to do. So we're going to get hit by the Ocelot Pride, but we're just going to keep mounting up counters on this. Alright, Shadowy Backstreet. So they're not going to be able to deploy a big 2-drop like Voice of Victory, but they might have like a follow-up Ocelot here. They have nothing. That's good news. I will work towards having more bugs. Okay, we kind of just have everything we want here. Do we want to Malevolent Rumble? Do we need to Malevolent Rumble? Not really. We play out this Bayou. I think this is the turn to get the Safekeeper in. So we can crop rotate a land into a Yavimaya and then crop rotate another land into our Dark Depths. Right, I am just going to take this damage. Our opponent's life total being above 20 is very relevant here. But if we do double crop rotation, we don't have the Sejiri Steppe, which might also be useful. Alright, they're going to get token. I think we still want more bugs. We can make them at any time we want because we have the Sylvan Safekeeper. Okay. So our opponent is playing this a little bit cagey. I think we just deploy the Thespian stage and see if our opponent taps out of anything. I would like more defense than just one Safekeeper activation. But if our opponent taps down so they only have 1 mana, then I will just combo out into that knowing that we have the Safekeeper to get through. No attempt to remove our Safekeeper there. I don't know what big drops they would have in this situation. So we could make the hatchery in a way that will deal with this Ocelot Pride. But I think it's fine just to take the 1 damage here. And then we take another 2 from these cats. And then we end up in an okay position. We could turn our Thespian stage into a hatchery, but that's not really what we want to be doing. That's not Ocelot Pride. 2 cards in our opponent's hand. Are they both Swords to Plowshares? If they are, we kind of get a little bit rumbled here. No pun intended, the fact we have double Malevolent Rumble in hand. Okay. So they're going to get some guys here. Did they get the City's Blessing this time around? They do. So we kind of want to get a Tabernacle here. I think we tap this. And then we don't want to get a Tabernacle right now, but we can turn this into a bunch of bugs. We've already got this swamp, so I think we actually want to have access to the Yavimaya here. I don't necessarily want to turn this into a Dark Depths right now. An Icetill Explorer. I love this guy. So probably turn this into a Tabernacle. And play out the Dark Depths. Tabernacle tapping for mana is quite nice. We have black in hand if we need it. Our opponent's going to have to pay to keep a bunch of their cats alive. And if they keep their cats alive, they won't have as much mana to interact with our Dark Depths combo. So I think we've kind of got our opponent coming and going a little bit here. We're just going to leave these back. I'm happy to throw them under the bus. Just keep our life total healthy. You got a lot of triggers there. How many cats are you going to keep around? The first strike cats, the actual Ocelot Prize themselves, are pretty good here. Because they're going to be able to first strike through any of my 1/1s. But I can double up 2 1/1s. And it will kill it. So I can kill one of them. I can also just make a 20/20. So I assume they pay for the real cats. Interestingly, using the Shadowy Backstreet, that suggests to me they don't have any black spells they want to cast. You would just play off the plains, I think. They might be fearful of us having Wastelands. They want to make sure they have a certain amount of mana up. You going to pay for both cats? Or just the one? They're paying for both. Okay, so our opponent's got a lot less mana to interact with. So if they play a land, they have 2 spells. If they don't play a land, they probably still have 2 spells maximum. We have 2 activations of Sylvan Safekeeper. Eumidian Hatchery and Dark Depths together at last. I'm quite happy about this. I'm going to triple block one of them. That way if they have a Bowmasters, we still kill the Ocelot. I'm not going to sacrifice a land to save an insect token. They get to 23. They get some cats. We get a slightly better token than our opponent here. So the thing about Merit Lage is it's indestructible and Tabernacle is a destroy trigger. So we say no to this trigger and our creature won't die. Do I want an insect token? No, we'll let one die. And then we will pay for our other 2 creatures. Play this one out. We will attack for 20. Quite a big number. We can't quite get over the line with this insect token. Do I want to play an Elvish Reclaimer just as another blocker? Seems weird to be playing out creatures onto this board. Sheoldred's Edict. I will sacrifice a token of my choice. Look at that. The tech that we've got coming in absolutely clutch. You love to see it. I think I will play out the Elvish Reclaimer now. It's a 3/4, I believe. There we go. Do they have more edicts, though? If they have an edict here, they can get rid of our guy. And then we're going to need to find some land. If we can find one more land, we can play the Icetill Explorer and just replay our combo almost immediately. Is this just Sheoldred's Edict again? I was prepared for white removal and a little bit prepared for black with our Eumidian Hatchery. It is Sheoldred's Edict. Goodbye, Merit Lage. Now, we are still in a commanding position here. I think we do pay for our guys. Would love to find a land here. Did not find a land. Found another Elvish Reclaimer. I guess we have our opponent in the Abyss here, so we may as well get stuck in. And then we just kind of pivot into a weird beatdown plan almost. We probably just let the Safekeeper go. This has been a great game for showcasing the different tools we have and how they interact with various things in the format. A Guide of Souls. Do you have another creature to follow this up with? They might have been sandbagging the guide so they could get the creatures in one go. Alright, that's pretty good. Now they're going to have to pay to let creatures die, but they can do that and then the Ajani will flip. Okay, so they have to block one of our creatures, but they have the Ajani, which is a little bit awkward. They're getting a bunch of tokens here and a bunch of life. Looking a little bit awkward for us now. I think we pay and pay, and I think we let the Safekeeper go. A Ghost Quarter. So we can play a Malevolent Rumble, or we can activate a Reclaimer. I think activating the Reclaimer is probably the best bet for us. It is certainly awkward with what's happening. Do we actually want this Malevolent Rumble right now? But then we're kind of still underneath our own Tabernacle, whereas we can force our opponent to pay for all their creatures, and then if they're not making any new creatures this time, then we can get rid of the Tabernacle. We can also phase out the Ajani so it doesn't flip after they sacrifice one of their cats. We should let the first one be the one that definitely dies here, because then we have to decide if we're interacting or not. Alright, they paid for that one. So it's going to be one of the 1/1 cats that dies to trigger the Ajani. So now is my chance to get rid of this Ajani. It taps me out. I think that's okay. Goodbye, Tabernacle. So we get Talon Gates here. Phase out the Ajani so it can't flip. Now all the Tabernacle triggers are still on. So our opponent's going to have to pay for... They have to pay for their Ajani, but they're going to have to pay for their Guide of Souls, their Ocelot of Pride, and any other creatures they want to keep. They do get to attack because Guide of Souls gives jump, so they can fly in and get some damage in. So what do we have next turn? Icetill Explorer, bring back Tabernacle, and something else. This Ajani is annoying though. Kind of wish we still had a Safekeeper, but we needed to let the Safekeeper go to activate the Reclaimer. Because we could keep getting back like the Talon Gates and using that to mess with our opponent a little bit. Okay, they got a land. That's probably not what they want, but it does help them keep more creatures, so it's still fine. They probably attack with the Ocelot Pride here, make it jump, so they gain 3 life this turn. And then... Okay, they're attacking with a bunch of guys. They can't jump them all. So we take possibly 4. We block this, 5, 6. And they can have us dead on the following turn if they attack him with everything. But they'd have to... No, we have to take 3 because they'd have to jump the Guide of Souls if they want to do that. But then we eat the Ocelot Pride. So I think they're attacking him with 3 cats, and they jump the Ocelot Pride. We block one of the Cat Warrior tokens. We take 5. And then we're dead next turn as well. That seems pretty good, doesn't it? So an Abrupt Decay wouldn't be a bad draw here. Jeez. Lots of things happening. I might get up above 20 again, which would be very annoying for us. Malevolent Rumble. So if we Malevolent Rumble into one of our combo pieces, we play it, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. So we then Malevolent Rumble into another combo piece, that puts it down to 2 mana, then we have 3 mana. So we could assemble a Marit Lage this turn if we Malevolent Rumble twice. However, that doesn't go well for us. Like, we're dead on board anyway, so we need to do something interesting here. We could get Hatchery and do something with that. I think this is just Malevolent Rumble twice. A Vampire Hexmage. That is kind of awkward here, isn't it? We can remove all the counters off of a guy. That's not nothing. It does answer the Ajani as well, but we don't have black for it. We kind of need to find one of our combo pieces here. I guess we should take the Hexmage here. I think we are done here. Let's just do one more Malevolent Rumble and then see. So we found the Dark Depths, but that doesn't help us here. Play out the Dark Depths. They just have lethal in the air that we can't deal with. Alright, let's go to game 3. Okay, do we need to respect these edicts a little bit more? So if we'd have let our Safekeeper die and kept around an insect, we would have won that game, which is quite funny. Do I want these endurances just as beefy boys? That's a possibility. Maybe it's better than the Cabal Therapies here, although Cabal Therapy can name Shoulder's Edict. But an endurance is going to just stonewall a bunch of their guys. We take out this Bojuka Bog that we don't need. That gets us the extra endurance. Everything else looks fine here. Okay, let's try this. We still obviously want the Safekeepers. They've got a bunch of Swords to Plowshares and things. And we have 3 hatcheries, so we have a way around the combo anyway. No. We need something a little bit more front foot forward. Okay, this works for me. I think we put back a... Is it Bayou or is it Hatchery? Maybe it's the second Hatchery. We don't want to be spending too much life here. Alright, let's get the Hatchery plan going. Next time we can play the Safekeeper out, and then we get to play an Endurance and maybe gobble something up without our opponent expecting it. Maybe it forces their hand, uses some removal, buys us time, takes removal out of the hand, but we can also Sylvan Safekeeper to protect our Endurance. So it gets a little bit sketchy for our opponent in that situation. We are behind on time, so we need to keep that in mind. So we can F6 through a bunch of our opponent's triggery bits, because that's going to take up a lot of time on the clock. No 1-drop. Right, let's tap this Hatchery. Another Urborg, not really what we want to see here. Let's get a Sylvan Safekeeper down. Do you want to plow my creature? They might do. They did not. Okay. So we're seeing this Safekeeper Hatchery combo up and running, which is something I'm all about. Alright, so they're going Guide of Souls into Ocelot Pride, or a second Guide. Alright, it's into the Pride. That is concerning. A Forest. That does save us a life this turn, so I think I am interested in playing that out. So I think we need to hit the... It's hard to know which of these to hit. I think it's the Guide of Souls, but we'll see what gets jumped. Because if it's the Ocelot Pride that gets jumped, then we gobble that up, maybe. Although, gobbling up the Guide of Souls if it's not jumped is really good. And then we just have the Endurance ready to eat the next wave of attacks. We can also use our Eumidian Hatchery, because we're going to get 3 1/1s. Well, we don't have to use our Eumidian Hatchery. We can use our Eumidian Hatchery. We haven't shown them Endurance yet, so I don't think they're going to be playing around it necessarily, but it's something that's on the radar when you see green 1 on the other side of the table. And they're going to remove the Sylvan Safekeeper before combat to force our hand into doing something. That's pretty good. Another Guide of Souls. Could have done without that in my life, to be honest with you. But here we are. White. And a Ajani. Yeah, that kind of disincentivizes me from blocking the Ocelot Pride. I really want to flip this little cat. So now they're going to have enough energy for 2 jumps. So things getting a little bit on the awkward side for us. Do I care if the Ajani flips? Yes, is the answer to that one. Do they even attack here? I think they should, but they attack with 2 things and jump them both. So they could attack with 2 Guide of Souls and jump them both. Sorry, they can't attack with this one. It's Summoning Stick, isn't it? But they could attack with... Yeah, maybe they only attack with the Guide of Souls, but then we can still kill it if we have the Endurance. No attack with the Ocelot Pride would make me happy. Because they're probably going to do this and jump the Guide of Souls, would be my guess. Because there is like an onboard 3 power in the air here. Right, let's see where they put these counters. The double Guide of Souls trigger is pretty scary, to be honest with you. We might struggle in this game. We need to tabernacle our opponent. Alright, so I'm going to play out this friend. And then, would I like this Eumidian Hatchery anywhere else? No, that's fine. More important to get this Ocelot Pride off the board or this Guide of Souls. Like, they're both a pain. Like, if we kill this, they have another token factory. Okay, I'm going to give this guy Shroud by sacking this hatchery. We're going to get a bunch of friends. We get blocks. We can block here. That takes out 1 Guide of Souls. So next turn they can grow the Ocelot Pride to be a 5/5 first striker, which we can't really handle. So we did board in a bunch of Abrupt Decays. We could find them. We could also find a Tabernacle, which has pros and cons. They're getting close to the City's Blessing as well. Alright, deck. A Eumidian Hatchery. Like, I don't hate having more 1/1s, but it's not what I actively want. We are very far behind. So now we're seeing the downside of our deck not being as dedicated to slapping down 2020s and trying to ride them to victory. But our opponent's start here was very good and ours was substandard. We haven't drawn particularly well either. We need some meat here that we can get on the board. Staff the Storyteller. I love this card. It gives them the City's Blessing, and then they're going to get a 1/1 flyer, which is going to gain them some life, and then they're going to get another 1/1 flyer at the end of turn from the Ocelot Pride. I don't think we can win this one at this point. We need to do Tabernacle Wasteland Crimes to get through this, which is an angle our deck has. So there is that going for us. So attack with the Ocelot Pride. Gonna get larger, and we're going to put a 1/1 insect under the bus. And then they're going to make more friends. So our opponent's going to be over 20 life very, very soon. In fact, now. I think. Sorry, over 40 life. And they've got a draw engine that's going to be just pay 1 mana, draw a card every turn because they're going to get so many triggers. Alright, let's just F6 through this pile of things hitting the board. At least we're going to catch back up on clock, but I think our opponent's going to kill us before the clock matters. And Abrupt Decay, you are a little bit on the late side. I guess we play out this Urborg. And we pass with the intention of Abrupt Decaying our opponent's Ocelot Pride. It will flip their Ajani, but our plan is to get rid of the Ocelot Pride and then try and Tabernacle away their guys. Just going to be Voice of Victory, which means we get our hand forced with this Abrupt Decay. No, it's another Ajani. Okay, we can kill the Ajani if we want to. It's just bad news all round here. I think we still have to index into kill the tall creature and then use Tabernacle to kill the wide creatures. Now, that does involve us having to draw the Tabernacle, but it's an out in our deck that we have access to. We do have Tutors, and we have Malevolent Rumble, which is kind of a way of digging. It's not quite as good as Crop Rotation. Alright, so they're pumping all of their pussycats. That's a lot of cats. Where are they going to put these Guide of Souls? So we have to hit them 3 times with a Merit Lage. That's not what I signed up for. I signed up for 1 combat step only, please. So they're leaving the Guide of Souls back, which is certainly one of the ones I'm interested in killing. And they're leaving back the 1/1s because we can trade them away. Nope, they're coming in. Okay, that makes sense. I would attack with them at this point. I'm going to have to do some maths to work out how dead we are in a second as well. Let's see where this Guide of Souls trigger goes. On some cat. Just some guy. Okay. I will kill this Ocelot Pride. I will pay a life with a Hatchery because 1/1s, when our creatures are bigger than 1/1s, end up being really useful. This is 2, 4, 6. Let's just sorry, 2, 4, 6, and then we have 5 here. So this is always getting blocked. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're not dead if we let it all through, but we're also not really feeling very alive either. So I think we have to protect our insect token here, just to get a couple more 1/1s, and we can get a blocks. So this has to block here, and then we want to block the next biggest thing. So this blocks here. We can trade off a couple of tokens. We take 2, 4, 6. That's not the end of the world, but how are we winning the game from that point onwards? We need some sort of Glacial Chasm action. All right, we're taking a whole bunch. They're going to make 1,000,000 tokens. Actually, no, they're not. Sorry, they haven't got any Ocelot Pride anymore. We got rid of that. Don't play a land, please. Okay, no land. So Tabernacle will do something here. It was not Tabernacle and we are dead. So let me just make sure I've got the math right on this one. So these are going to be coming in at 3 power, and we get to block one of them. So we take 3, 6, 9. Yeah, we are very dead. GG's opponent. That was really good. I really thought we had game 2, and then they just had that turn when they went like Guide of Souls plus, was it double Guide of Souls or Guide of Souls Ocelot Pride? It was something like that, and then all of a sudden they just had 1,000,000 guys. That was really horrible for us. Like the top draws of this deck are really good. It was banned in Modern for a reason. Okay, on to round number 2. Okay. What are we doing with this opener? It's kind of weird. Like, we're on the play. We have some stuff here. And we have a lot of lands we can draw. If this Mox Diamond was a land, I think I'd be happier. Like, what are we doing on turn 1? Do we play Dark Depths? Do we play Thespian Stage and Mox Diamond and bin off the Dark Depths? And then what are we doing? Just blind Cabal Therapy? I think we can get something that looks a bit more, front foot forward here. Okay, I like this one more. Keep this. What are we putting back? Possibly the Rumble? I think it's the Rumble here. Or it could be the... No, we need the green off the Mox Diamond. Yeah, okay. We're going to keep like this, and we're going to Thoughtseize on 1. And then we have the ability to crop rotate into Marit Lage if we draw a land. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of nonsense here. Flare of Manners, what does that do? You may sacrifice another. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker with the greatest mana value among creatures and planeswalkers they control. So they have an edict effect, they have a bunch of counter magic, they've got some card draw. They don't have a lot of lands though. What do I want to take here? This hand is particularly annoying for us. They sacrifice a non-token black creature. Do we just take the Force of Will? This is an instant as well. Okay. They would have to sacrifice or pay 4. I think I would rather have the ability to resolve spells. Interesting. That's a tough choice there. Our opponent's hand is obviously stacked because it's 6 spells. This could be the Bug Nardu deck that's been popping off lately. I've seen it in a couple of places. It uses the Chocobo to get like double Baleful Strix triggers, which is pretty cool. Icetill Explorer. This is the sort of thing we've been trying to get our hands on. Alright, Mox Diamond. Please Force of Negation this. I'm going to just play out this Hexmage. This isn't necessarily our plan for the game, but we can take it. So they could play a Baleful Strix and then immediately make us sacrifice the Hexmage, and that's fine. The hope here is that we can get through a bunch of stuff our opponent does, and then eventually just stick this Icetill Explorer and just immediately gas up with 2 cards from it. They found a land, and we are helping with their mana with this Urborg a little bit, but we didn't know that going in, and we had to get our ducks in a row early on so we could fire in our Thoughtseize on turn 1. Okay, this is almost certainly going to be a Baleful Strix, and then they can copy it next turn with a Mockingbird. Kaito is also pretty bad news for what we're trying to accomplish here. Okay, our opponent's going to have many tools that I'm kind of fearful of. Another Hexmage. Well, on the plus side, Vampire Hexmage does have First Strike. And we can kill Kaito, just not on their turn, because we can remove all the counters when it stops having Hexproof. And maybe at some point we can just fire in a crop rotation. So we have pretty good information on our opponent's hand. Is this another Baleful Strix, or are we just going to have a Mockingbird? So basically, yes, another Baleful Strix. Yes. I'm very happy we have first strike here. They're coming in. They're not winning this race. But when the Kaito comes down, that gets irritating. A Eumidian Hatchery. My sweet love is here. Okay. Bash for 4. It's 4-turn clock. Nothing to be sniffed at. We do have a situation where we might just be able to send a win here. Now, our opponent has a Baleful Strix, so they're probably just going to block with it, which is annoying. Fatal Push on a Vampire Hexmage. We know they have Force of Negation. I'm not going to play into it. If we cast this Crop Rotation, we're casting it on our opponent's turn when they don't have blue-blue 1-up. So this turn, they probably attack, put in Kaito, maybe sack their Baleful Strix to get Kaito in. Yep, so they do this, and then they probably sacrifice... They probably do the Flare of Malice thing here, right? This is mana cost, right? Okay, that's failing here. So this is... you may sacrifice a non-token black creature. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker with the greatest mana value. So if I have 2 tokens, we get to choose which one gets sacrificed. I don't think this situation is getting much better for us. I think we go for it here. We get a little 1-1 friend. We have a Fatal Push in response and kill our Hexmage. That's annoying. We know one of the cards in their hand is a Baleful Strix. An island. Okay, are we getting Spell Pierced or is this an emergency brainstorm? It's an emergency brainstorm. I think our opponent's worked out what's happening here. And we've managed to wriggle our way through their interaction. Because Flare of Malice won't work. Once again, Eumidian Hatchery having some pretty important text for what we're trying to accomplish here. Don't do it to me, opponent. Just let me have it. Force of Will. That wasn't very nice. Okay, so now we've almost certainly lost this game. Okay. Well, I may have spoke slightly too soon there. We'll attack all creatures at Kaito, please. So Kaito cannot tap down our Marillage, even if we make it. So we can make it in combat and just block with it. And just kill the Kaito that way. So it's still a creature, so it will die if it has enough damage on it. Another land. Am I taking the opportunity here to try and kill this Kaito? What am I worried about our opponent having? Double Edict, Brazen Borrower. We can't let our opponent just surveil here. I think we need to swing for the fences a little bit, especially since after last turn. Sink into Stupor. Sure. Like I said, we needed to swing for the fences because it's not getting better for us. If this connects, they get to surveil 2 and draw a card, and that is a lot of extra value. I think this game has slipped away from us a little bit. A Thoughtseize. I will take some more information on what our opponent's doing, but I don't think it matters anymore. Flare of Malice, Force of Negation, Mockingbird. I guess we take the Edict effect. I don't know how we're supposed to get through this one. Can't get this... If we can get this Icetill Explorer into play, then I think we'll be okay. But that is kind of a big ask. So we had a different line of trying to use our Hexmage to stop our opponent's Kaito, but they had a whole grip full of cards. I think it was always right to make sure that we've got a chance to win the game instead of trying to lose the game slower. Which is something you have to do when you play decks like this sometimes. Or just Magic in general. I think people quite often take lines that end up losing them the game, but slower instead of swinging for a small percentage that can actually win them the game. I think we need to keep our Insect token around. As much as I hate this, I don't know how we're supposed to get through this. But maybe we'll see some more cards from our opponent. It does look like just on like some sort of mono-black mid-rangey type thing. Alright, sorry, a blue-black, not mono-black. Apologies. So, I think we are very dead. Is there any single card we can draw here that helps? Tabernacle just makes our opponent tap some mana. Actually, that's not in our main deck, is it? And they got Tamiyo as well. So they showed us a Tamiyo they didn't have to show us. Although I would assume they had Tamiyo because it's the best blue card. Alright, we're just going to... No, we know what both the cards in their hand are anyway. We'll just scoop it up. Just instinctively firing off a Cabal Therapy for information, but actually it wasn't really about that. Karakas can bounce the Tamiyo. Abrupt Decay can do some things here. It can blow up Tamiyos, get rid of blockers like Mockingbird. They didn't really look to be doing much with their graveyard. And they're not really targeting our creatures. So I guess we take out this Bojuka Bog. I like Talon Gates. The Maze of Ith is kind of not great. We can use it to attack and block with our own Marit Lage. That's the thing that needs to happen. But hopefully when we attack with our Marit Lage, we win the game. But I can certainly see situations where we want to attack with Marit Lage. We kill a Baleful Strix, and then we untap our Marit Lage after damage. And then it's there so they can't Kaito us. Like attack and get an easy Kaito in. So those are things I'm interested in. How into these crop rotations am I? They are absolutely devastating when they get counterspelled. Now it does take us to the correct number here. We've seen some bounce spells, so I do want to keep in the Sylvan Safekeepers. If we're boarding out all the crop rotations there, it does make the Sejiri Steppe a little less good, but we have Reclaimers that can kind of do that anyway. And this should, in theory, be a grindier game, so we want to have the grindier tools, and not the splashy, we win the game early tools. Obviously, this is like a brand new brew that I've made, so we don't have like definitive sideboarding plans for it. Love the Icetill Explorer. We'll keep this. I don't really want the Abrupt Decay to deal with all the things in the world. Like, it's fine. I like having it. I think we're better for having it than not having it. Always going to be that useful. Strategic Betrayal. Target opponent exiles a creature they control and their graveyard. And a Sheoldred's Edict and a Singed Stupor. Alright, we get it, opponent. We get it. I don't really want them exiling my graveyard, though. So I'm going to take that one. Our opponent keeping a one-lander. It does have 2 Brainstorms, so that's reasonable enough. Actually, it's not really a one-lander, is it? Singed Stupor. I take it back. It was a perfectly good keep. We'll get through the Sheoldred's Edict somehow, I'm sure. Soporific Springs untapped. So they're holding up a Brainstorm and a Consign. So we don't really want to fire in with this Mox if we can avoid it. So what is the plan here? Are we holding up a Sylvan Safekeeper? Oh, sorry, holding up a Abrupt Decay or playing a Sylvan Safekeeper? Honestly, I'm kind of down for just a Sylvan Safekeeper. I'm not expecting this to do that much. I think our opponent's going to be leaning more on black ways of interacting, especially since they've played their Soporific Springs out. So this is just going to be a thing that pecks away for a little bit and can maybe enable some of the other stuff we want to do. That seems fine. A Brainstorm. There's lots of cool things you can do with Icetill Explorer and Safekeeper. Like you can sacrifice a Sejiri Steppe and then bring it back and sacrifice it and bring it back so you can give your creature protection from 2 different colours to attack with. That's really cool. Provided the creature isn't one of the ones you're targeting with the Shroud. Alright, that's their next land. We haven't seen Orcish Bowmasters yet. It's certainly within the realms of possibility of cards that our opponent might have there. Alright, I will attack with my Sylvan Safekeeper. I will deploy a Thespian Stage, which can become a pseudo Bayou if needs be. Our opponent has to be aware that we can assemble a combo. They might have also brought in the Consigned Memory thinking it counters the trigger on the Dark Depths, which it doesn't, because the trigger just goes back on the stack again. Because it sees that it doesn't have any counters and puts its ability on the stack unless its ability is already on the stack. So once you clear the stack, it's then like, no, I need to put this back on again. Alright, let's go and get this Thespian Stage doing a little bit more for us. So we have effectively 2 Bayous now. Sheoldred's Edict over there, just doing its thing, eh? I will attack with a Safekeeper first. Little point of damage, they don't hurt. And I'll play out a Dark Depths, and I will play out a Hexmage. This means our opponent has to keep up 2 mana at all times whilst we're beating them down for 3. Because at any point we can just go shred the counters from Dark Depths and then they're kind of dead. So they have to basically double port themselves to make sure they don't die. Unless they mistakenly think Consign works. Right, we've got some action over here. I'm curious what it may be. Alright, a Surveil land. They just want maximum information before they make any decisions. That is smart and the correct way to do things. So they might be brainstorming here. They've got that fetch land ready to go. Alright, we're just in with it. Excellent. So now we've got our like double port effect going. Are they just going to fire off a Sheoldred's Edict here? A Disruptive Flute. Okay, if our opponent thinks they're comfortable here, we might just be able to cheese a win. Because they're going to name Vampire Hexmage. And then if they tap out of Sheoldred's Edict, we Abrupt Decay this, and we're good to go. Very happy we brought in the Abrupt Decay now. I figure they might have something like the Harbinger of the Seas, which is the main reason I brought this in. As well as killing like little blockers here and there can be important when you've got something that can tap it down that they can play like a Kaite. Making sure you kill in one hit is really important. Alright, tap all your mana for something I don't care about, please. A Brainstorm, that's the start of them tapping all their mana. It's interesting they've named Sylvan Safekeeper with the Disruptor Flute as well. I wonder what that's all about. I was too busy discussing how this relates to Vampire Hexmage. So we know they've got an Edict effect in hand. Do I want to just Abrupt Decay right now anyway on this, or not? Feels like a trap. I don't know. I think we do hit the flute now, and we try and be mana efficient. We can float a bunch of mana, do our combo, and then immediately deploy it again. So our opponent's got 5 cards in hand. We can probably surmise what some of them are. Alright, I think we get in our damage first. We haven't seen Days from our opponent yet, but that doesn't mean they're not playing it. Do we fire in a Mox Diamond here? And see if our opponent wants to consign to memory it? I think we do. They did not want to consign to memory it. I guess we want to play this first to make sure it resolves first. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a 20/20 using the Hexmage. And then we're going to play the Yavimaya and the Dark Depths. Alright, they have to hit this. I agree with that play. Because otherwise we get to play the Yavimaya and the Dark Depths again. So they have to answer 2 20/20s in one turn cycle. And that is quite a big ask. I like the Icetill Explorer a lot. Okay, I guess we're continuing to send in the clowns. Our opponent hasn't shown us any instant speed stuff yet that we need to worry about in terms of creatures that can block. I think we keep this in hand. Make our opponent guess about stuff. I want to have perfect information about what our deck is capable of and what we have in hand. Then they can work out the perfect plays, and I don't want them to be able to do that. I want them to be sweating it in case we have, you know, some random Defend the Rider type card. But we have them dead in a couple of turns. Soporific Springs tapped. Interesting, they value having this land in play more than having a bounce spell. Yes, we do have the Safekeeper doing its thing. Alright, so let's go to attacks. Like, our opponent can't play a... Well, they can't really play anything that we're worried about at this point, really. Like sweeper-wise. Because if they do like a Toxic Deluge where X equals 2, then all we do is just make the Dark Depths in response, and then they go to 1 and we have a 3/4 to attack with next turn. We can obviously sacrifice lands to pump up our Reclaimer whenever we like. Do I play out a land now? I think we keep it in hand for the same reasons as before. If our opponent suspects we have a trick, then they're going to play Super KG. Are we just going to beat our opponent down with our like very mediocre men? Alright, it's going to be a Ponder or a Brainstorm. Oh, it's a Mockingbird. Sure. Are they getting themselves a Reclaimer here? They are. A Mockingbird. Okay. Are they going to get themselves a Reclaimer? They're going to get themselves... Okay, so they've got 2 Reclaimers. So, how do we get through this? If we fire out a Marit Lage token now, they obviously just Shoulder's Edict it. But we have some plans here. Talon Gates of Madara. That's very interesting. That gives us the win if our opponent does nothing here, right? So we play this. Phase out one of these. So we can attack with everything here. And they block here, and then they Edict, and we just sacrifice this guy, and it doesn't matter. And then this comes through. If they block somewhere else, we can sacrifice other things. So I think we just have it here. We have to do a little bit of combat maths. My usual combat maths is your life total 20? Good. But yeah, we attack with everything. This can become a 3/4, which is lethal. So if they block here, we have 3 damage coming through. If they block here, we have 4 damage coming through. That seems a-okay to me. And then we have the Shoulder Edict covered because we just sack whatever they're blocking. Okay, so we will Sylvan Safekeeper targeting this, and I will sacrifice this Talon Gates. We will protect itself. I will sacrifice this Basic Forest. And they will take lethal damage. Alright, we got through that one. That felt okay. Yeah. Do we want to do anything differently here? The Mockingbirds are another reason to keep the decays in, because they have some guys that can do little bits and pieces. Do I like not having crop rotations in? I think, honestly, I don't really want them in this matchup. It just gives our opponent a really good window to kind of nip at what we're doing and just curtail us entirely when we can just, you know, do our regular grinding stuff. All right, let's just go again. There's an argument to have some endurances in, but what do you cut to put the endurances in here? Maybe Mox Diamonds, but I like having the ability to get ahead of the curve. And it also fixes our mana, which, you know, our mana isn't the best for a 28 land deck. You know, we have Dark Depths and Thespian Stage making up some number of our lands here. You know, Maze of Ith as well, Ghost Quarter, Wasteland. We've got a bunch of stuff that isn't actually tapping for relevant colours. So having the Mox Diamond just to smooth that over is really handy. Okay, keep this. We haven't seen any Wastelands from our opponent yet. So I think I'm going to play around them not having any Wastelands. I think that is the choice we're making. Like, we've played quite a lot of turns of Magic and not seen them. Unless I'm just suddenly bricking on something and they were there and my brain just ignoring them. They did not shuffle with a Ponder. We have probably the best one drop we could hope for in the Reclaimer. So we're just going to get a Bayou here and deploy a friend. So we're just going to play a bunch of good creatures and then our opponent will hopefully die. Like, this is a must-answer creature. Yeah, so we got a 1-mana Hymns Turek. Pretty good. And we've got another one for next turn as well. We could Malevolent Rumble instead, but I don't think we need to. Is this going to be a Baleful Strix? Or are we just having some brainstorm action? They just want a Mockingbird. What this means to me is that our opponent wants to get a Kaito in next turn. So the question is, how badly will Kaito wreck us next turn? This has flying, so we don't have a great way of dealing with it. I think our game plan is going to be good enough. So we'll play this Reclaimer around a day. Actually, no, they haven't shown us days, but they have shown us removal. Do we just get rid of this Mockingbird so that they can't put in a Kaito? I think that is what we're doing here. But the only reason you would play this is to get Kaito out. There's no way that you're playing this naked like that. And if we can just stop Kaito being a 3-mana play and making it a 4-mana play when our opponent's only got 3 cards left, then that's going to be pretty handy for us. So we can pretty conclusively deduce one of our opponent's 3 cards. And if they are like trying to play a Disruptor Flute game, we have that covered because we have the second Decay. We're playing Yuriko. Okay. That was what they're putting in. So they're ninjas. I didn't even realize they were ninjas until now. Okay. So I think we are deploying your friend of mine, Elvish Reclaimer. He can block this Yuriko quite handily. We'll also... Are we playing out this Safekeeper or do we want to Malevolent Rumble? I kind of want to Rumble. Let's get this down. I like having another land a lot here. Although, if we're going to play the Icetill Explorer next time, we're going to get all our lands back anyway. So are we supposed to take the Hexmage here? Or another Reclaimer? Alright, I'll take the Hexmage. We have an Eldrazi Spawn token ready to go. Do we let our opponent's Yuriko hit us at the cost of our Eldrazi Spawn? Sorry, I'm just working out. If the Reclaimer dies, do we block with Eldrazi Spawn token to stop them getting a card draw? That might be what we're doing. So they're going to set up the top of their deck with this Yuriko. Maybe they're doing something really wild and having like an Emrakul or something. And just being like, oh, got you. Or what's the other one? Sign of Draco. I can't remember how much that one costs. But yeah, they can just have some really expensive thing that they're just stacking on top of their deck. I suspect the most expensive thing in their deck is Force of Will, though. Unless they've got some sort of delve spell that's a little bit more pricey. Alright, the fact they haven't just immediately killed our guy and swung in fills me with a bit of joy. They did shuffle off the first Ponder, and now they're hopefully going to shuffle off of the second Ponder. They did indeed shuffle off the second Ponder. This bodes well for us. They do not have the removal spell. We get to just go to our turn unbothered. A Karakas. Yeah, that's really rude, isn't it? I would like to get this Icetill Explorer in. Do I play out this Karakas? How do we lose a game if we have this Icetill Explorer in? I don't know. Like, this card is just real good here. Okay, I will play some lands out. I'm only going to play this one land though, because the other one we want to play is the... Oh, the Hatchery. I really want the Hatchery. But no, the correct play... Is it the correct play to get the Karakas and just make sure this isn't part of the game? Like, do they have a way of giving this unblockable? There is a ninja that I think does that. Alright, I think we're just going to play this out. We're going to mill another card. Another hatchery. And then we're just going to bounce the Yuriko and get to attacking. We also get to deploy this Sylvan Safekeeper. Okay. We have the hatchery to cover any sort of edicts as well if we're going for a 2020, but we don't even have to do that. Now we kind of have worked out what our opponent's doing. Exiling our graveyard. That's so rude. Take opponent exiles a creature they control and their graveyard. Alright, I'm going to exile this Sylvan Safekeeper. Strategic Betrayal. So we can play this land out and it mills for 1. Let's do that. It was not a land. And then I think we will sacrifice this forest for a Dark Depths. Mills a card. And then we can play out this forest. Or we could make a 2020 and then redeploy one of these cards. So we could go Hexmage here. Remove the counters from this Dark Depths. Then immediately replay the Dark Depths. We get to mill again. Another Dark Depths. Okay, so now we have the Dark Depths combo and the Marit Lage in play. This feels great. This is very much what I envisioned this deck doing. Alright, we got the game and the match. So we are on the board. Deck felt pretty good. It felt pretty good in round 1. As just our opponent's deck felt and drew a little bit better than we did. So on to round number 3. For free, fast and secure worldwide shipping on high-end singles, classic products and full sets, check out 3for1 Trading. Whether it's the legacy or pre-modern that I play on this channel, or even vintage and old school, they've got you covered. Find them through the link in the description of this video and use my code COW3 for free worldwide shipping on your first order over $500 or euros. I will keep this hand. We have the best one drop in the deck in the Reclaimer. We can just play that and get things going with it. Is it going to get Swords to Plowshared? Quite possibly. I'm going to leave this Verdant Catacombs because I don't know if we're going to want to have access to a basic swamp if our opponent's playing some sort of back to basics style list. We could be seeing a Plow end of turn, or we could be seeing... Oh, it's Xander's Lounge. Okay, so we're on some sort of Beanstalk, Leyline Binding type deck. That's what this most likely tells us. Unless they're playing Grixis control and they just want to have the Grixis land. But now they've got the Tundra, I think we can safely work out what our opponent's deck is doing. This is going to be a difficult matchup. So lands is pretty good into this sort of thing, but we're not lands. Although we can do a pretty good impression of it here. How do I want to play this out? So we know our lands are mostly going to be fine, but they can have Wastelands in their deck. I think we probably want to start putting cards into our graveyard for the purposes of this Loam. I think we get the Bayou here. Now we have two choices. We can deploy this Sylvan Safekeeper, or we can hold up this Boseiju. I think we're better off holding up the Boseiju. Is that true? Because the Boseiju is going to deal with their Beanstalk with the card draw on the stack. Alright, now we're going to play the Safekeeper here. We could have played this the other way around to protect from our opponent's removal spells on our Reclaimer, which is kind of the more important object than pretty much anything else going on right now. But the line from the Loam being drawn has certainly helped us out. Okay, they're cycling non-revealed. So also we can sacrifice to keep the Safekeeper alive, and then we can just Life from the Loam it back, and we can just keep that little loop going as long as we need to. So here is the Beanstalk that we could have Boseiju'd in response to the card draw. They have all of the things, so they can Leyline Binding us, which is probably what's going to happen here. So they're going to draw a card, and this has to target one of our permanents. Okay. I was wondering if we could get cheeky here. I will sacrifice this forest. I was wondering if we get cheeky here and make them target their own thing, but new templating cards isn't like it has to target something. I don't want our opponent to have a Force of Negation in hand. That would be a bad time for us. Thoughtseize is nice, but we'll worry about that later, I think. Or do we worry about it now? We could just Thoughtseize our opponent We don't need to Loam right now, do we? Yeah, okay, I'm down to Thoughtseize here. Okay, we got a Teferi, a Force of Will, and a Lorien Revealed. Interesting. The Wasteland over there is a little cheeky, but we don't have a problem with that. So what do I actually care about here? I think it might be the Lorien Revealed. I don't want our opponent to draw 5 cards. That's so many cards. Sorry, 4 cards, because they draw 3 and then get one from the Beanstalk. Maybe we just take the Lorien Revealed and then leave them worrying about their Force of Will and whether they have to keep anything up for it. I think we probably just play out the Yavimaya here and attack for 1. So we can still activate abilities underneath the Teferi as well, so they can't bounce our guy. They can just bounce nothing and draw a card, or bounce their Leyline Binding is probably what they would do here. They might even bounce their own Beanstalk just to get a little bit of value that way, because it's cheaper. Actually, it's not even cheaper, is it, than the Leyline Binding? Think about it. And this will force us to sack more lands. Yeah, so they're probably going to play Teferi, bounce the Leyline Binding. There is a Wasteland. Targeting my Bayou. I will sacrifice it to protect my Sylvan Safekeeper. An Uro. Okay. That could do a little bit of work here, can't it? So I think we are at the stage where we need to get our Life from the Loam going. We're not going to phase anything out. We're going to loan back these lands. Sort of undo our opponent's ways of tackling our mana base here. We're a little bit behind on clock already, which is something I'm not a huge fan of, so we need to be a bit more aware of what we're doing. So our opponent's deck is one that quite often can go to time, so we need to try and leverage that. They probably just play out on Uro, which is admittedly pretty good. But we're not a million miles away from something pretty disgusting that we can do to our opponent here. We can have a lot of Sylvan Safekeeper triggers to keep our Marit safe. Like, are they just going to try and keep us down by continuously targeting our guy? Mystic Sanctuary. They're going to get back the plow. They are getting back the plow. And then they can put the Euro back in and have a plow. Okay. So I believe they have 1 mystery card. No, so we know all the cards in the hand at this point. Alright, we're going to keep it alive. And this Uro is certainly on the annoying front, but do we need to dredge the Life from the Loam right now? We have a bunch of lands in hand already. I don't think we need to dredge it. A Thoughtseize. Okay. We're kind of getting somewhere. I wonder if they Force of Will this. No, they don't. Okay. So I'm more worried about this Force of Will or this Teferi. The Teferi is a card draw, but doesn't actually matter very much. Force of Will is also a card draw, though. I guess we take the Force, and our opponent's going to gain some life off this Uro, but we should hopefully have a 20/20 in a couple of turns that our opponent can't deal with. We're going to be taking some hits, though. So we probably take 12 off this Uro before we make our 20/20. So they are drawing a bunch of extra cards. Generally speaking, these sort of bank control decks are not what I like playing against with Turbo Depths. Now, we aren't Turbo Depths, but we have a lot of similar cards going on. Okay, another Up the Beanstalk is real grim for us. So the plan is we only try to care about a very select amount of our opponent's cards, and hopefully the Safekeeper does that. But if they continue to remove the Safekeeper, we continue to feed it lands, then we end up not really getting where we need to be. Okay, Up the Beanstalk. I think we should protect this now. And I'm going to get rid of this Yavimaya because we need black for our Hexmage. Yes, they're just constantly making us feed the Safekeeper here. And we don't have the sort of blistering speed that you get off of a regular Turbo Depths deck, where the Safekeeper protects this key turn and that's it. We're in a situation where our opponent's going to be slowly grinding us. Ugh, another Wasteland. Oh, I hate these 5-colour decks that get to play Wasteland. It really bothers me. Okay, I guess we're not dredging Loam. A Reclaimer. We do need the Bayou out. So let's go and get it, I suppose. Let's play the Reclaimer here. Attack for 1 here. We don't have a Karakas in the main. We do have a Maze of Ith, though. But that's going to be too slow. Brainstorm. I think we're just dead here. But our opponent is playing a little bit slower than we are at the moment, so we can knock a few minutes off their clock as we go through this. That should give us more breathing room in the other matches. In the other games, sorry. If they Teferi Time Raver, do we sacrifice our guy? I don't know about that. Alright, 6 damages. Go ahead. Puts us to 3. We're very, very dead to a 4th Eorlingus. But our opponent's deck is far better going to this late game than we are. Like their deck is entirely designed to play in the late game. And we're not enough pressure going on to make it so that we can stop them getting to the late game. Alright. They are bouncing their Leyline Binding. This is a play that I mentioned many turns ago. I don't think we're beating this. I think we just need to... Like, we could like grind our opponent's clock a little bit, but it's not the most exciting. I was thinking about doing it, but... Okay, Karakas answers the Euro, and that's very annoying for our opponent. Sylvan Safekeeper is good here. Unlike Collector Ouphes. Sorry, not Collector Ouphes, Abrupt Decay. Why did I say Collector Ouphes? I don't hate endurances, I just like having more threats. I don't like having crop rotations here. The Bojuka Bog is fine. It's not really what we want to be doing, though. I think the endurance does the same thing, but it's just better for us. I like our hand disruption. Do I like Mox Diamond in this matchup where we don't actually have to go quickly? I don't think we need the Mox Diamond. Although, as we discussed, it is part of our mana fixing. But I really don't like it into like Teferis and stuff like that going on. And we need to find room for all these cards somewhere, right? Hand disruption is very useful. Reclaimer is like one of our best cards. Do we need all of these Abrupt Decays? Probably not. Do we just take out 2 of them and have like 2 in there so that we can reach for them occasionally? Is there a land that we want to take out? Ghost Quarter Lock is pretty good. Maze of Ith isn't that good here, actually. Let's have a 3rd Decay over the Maze. The Karakas does the same thing, but better. It just gets the Euro out of there, and they have to keep churning up the graveyard if they want to keep attacking with it. Sorry, if they want to keep playing it, not attacking with it, because they're never going to attack with it for your Karakas. Okay, this seems fine. Okay. I like this, but we're going to start off with the hatchery. I think we're just going to start deploying counters on our hatchery. It's a nice way of trying to build up some value against a deck that can't necessarily interact amazingly with this. Like, yes, they have Wastelands, but we still get something if they waste us. Now, if they waste us and we never draw another land in our 28 land deck, then, yeah, you got me, fair enough. But I think I'd rather have this Wastelanded than a Bayou. And the Safekeeper isn't the most exciting thing right now. We need time for it to warm up and get where it needs to be. Otherwise, we end up in a situation where our opponent keeps pointing removal at it, we keep sacking lands, and then we end up in a horrible position. I love the Safekeeper Icetill combo, though. That feels pretty nice. Okay, I'm going to play out this Yavimaya, and I'm going to deploy a Sylvan Safekeeper. This does help our opponent because it gives them forests, but I don't care about that. They're going to set out their mana at some point anyway. We've got an answer for like Uros and Teferis just sit and play, because if they just sit a Teferi and play, it can be quite frustrating. Although Sylvan Safekeeper is pretty good. We're not running Not This World, which is where Teferi can really jam you up. We're playing this game again. We are playing this game again. I'm going to continue to play this game, but this time we have 3 power in play. That's a Delver's worth of power. The question is, when they inevitably shoot our guy now, do we protect it? Or do we just say, you know, that is what it is? Because if we had another land in hand, I'd be tempted. Alright, this Wasteland is not the best for us. Okay. We have a Delver's worth of damage. A Sejiri Steppe. Alright, I guess we are protecting our guy from white spells this turn. So we're doing this so we can cast a Life from Loam next time without exposing our Bayou to another Wasteland. I bet they've got a Force of Negation in hand for this Loam. I can just feel it in my bones. Alright, is this going to be a Beanstalk? Probably. It's their own Loam. Cool. I'm somewhat of a Loam gamer myself. They're going to Force of Negation me, I feel it. No? Okay. That's something. But them loaming back Wasteland versus me loaming back my lands, like, That's not really going to work. And we're going to keep amassing creatures as we go because we have this hatchery. And our opponent needs a bunch of lands they can deploy with spells. See, look, our opponent's not on the Wasteland plan now. I think that's correct. If we didn't Loam there, then they'd maybe just take out our Bayou. So I'm thinking, what, Teferi or Uro here? Or maybe an Endurance and just get rid of our Loam. It's an Uro, okay. So we have an answer for that when it gets into play properly and they can't counterspell our answer for it. The fact that we get to make another land drop next turn is nice. Right, so I have a Wasteland here. Are they going to use it? Sure. I'll dredge the Loam. I will deploy this Yavimaya. And we're going to loan back some lands. We're going to go to attacks. I think we're going to discard this Safekeeper. We've already got one. The second one, not so useful. So next time we get to play the Hatchery, crack off an Abrupt Decay, killing this Uro, then beat for 3 to undo the life they gained off the Uro. Oh, a tapped Sanctuary. Did they think they had enough islands to make that work? That might be a whoopsie. I'll take it. My opponent is pretty scary right now with like a full grip full of cards. But this misstep could be pretty severe. They could loan this turn instead and get back the Wasteland and something else. They'll have to go to discard end of turn anyway, so they're probably only getting 2 things back. Blue and white. Is this going to be a Teferi? It is. Okay. They want to do this. I think this is a mistake. Because they don't get to draw a card here. And they lose a Teferi. We're not going to dredge the Loam this time. We don't need to. Eumidian Hatchery. Get in here. Go attacks. This goes at Teferi. This goes at them. This means that our Abrupt Decay is something we can leverage in our opponent's turn, so we get to be way more mana efficient. It's nice that we're getting to showcase this sort of gear that the deck has of just playing this scrappy little annoying game. Alright, our opponent has a Plains, but it does tap for green because we have a Yavimaya in play. This looks like Big Daddy Uro. It's going to put them to 11. If they remove our creature, we end up with 4 power, so we'll be outpacing the Uro for a change. Hedge Maze, okay, so not a Wasteland, that's good news. Because our lands are kind of under a little bit of duress here. Goodbye, Uro. We don't need to Loam yet. A Sylvan Safekeeper again. Okay, I'll play out this Hatchery. I will go to attacks. Attack with all my creatures. Do I think our opponent has Supreme Verdict, though? I think they might do in their deck, so I don't really want to go wild playing all the guys. We don't have to. Sure, you got Brainstorm. So Wasteland on our Yavimaya becomes a little bit annoying for this turn cycle. I don't know if they can afford to do that. I guess they have a lot of land over there. Okay, so they have a Terminus. That is unfortunately pretty good. But we kept back the Sylvan Safekeeper, so we do have our second wave. If they play it on Uro, we kill it again. Again, they're just drawing cards this whole time. Like, we're very much in the late game and our opponent's doing their thing. We do have Icetill Explorer coming though, and that guy is pretty good at getting stuff done. Provided he is alive. But we've got another wave of hatcheries coming. I think the correct play here is to... Well, we don't know what's in our opponent's hand though, so I'm different. Okay, so yeah, I was going to say the correct play is to Loam first, get back the Wasteland, Wasteland us, we float green, we go to second main phase to let the green mana go away, and then the Uro doesn't get killed straight away, so we don't get to be mana efficient. But I'm not sure if they played a land gets 10. Okay, so there's the Uro. Enjoy your card here. There is the Wasteland. You're going to fire it off immediately. Let's get rid of this Uro again. This is not like a long-term solution to Uro. Short, we lose the Cradle. Add some cows onto the Hatchery. I think I will dredge the Loam. I would like to get back this Yavimaya, this Urborg, and I guess this Sejiri Steppe. We can get blown out by a Force of Negation. We are slightly up on clock now, which is nice. So if our opponent has a Force of Will, they could Force of Will here, then Wasteland our green source. And that would be a horrible situation for us, but that's not what happened, so I'll take it. Alluring Reveal, that's a lot of cards. A very full grip over there for our opponent. We don't need to dredge a Loam. A Hexmage, you say? I would like to play this Yavimaya, I think. And I would like to deploy a Sylvan Safekeeper. Am I deploying this Vampire Hexmage yet? I don't think we are. I think the plan is next turn we Hexmage Depths. We almost have lethal damage here. You cycle that Xander's Lounge. I think they're digging for a 4th Eorlingus, which is a pretty strong play here. Maybe we are supposed to play the Hexmage that turn and just try and get regular damage over the finish line. But that kind of plays into sweepers a little bit. We've seen Uro back again. Welcome back, friend. It's been a while. I've probably seen so many cards in this game as well. Alright, you've got Uro. We have an army of 1/1s though. This is why it was right not to play the Hexmage, I guess, because if they get the Uro back and we don't have enough damage to get through, then we kind of just expose things we don't need to. A Sylvan Safekeeper underneath the dress down. Okay, you got it. So they're going to use this opportunity to kill our Sylvan Safekeeper. I don't think we want to make a bunch of hatchery tokens. Sure. But if we give it Shroud, then it loses all abilities, and I believe that does work to get rid of all the abilities. They're exiling our life from the Loam. Sure, we have Exploration / Crucible in hand, so that's not the biggest of deals. They do know exactly what's coming next turn. So they can sculpt around it a little bit if they want. Will I be tapping these? Do we need more counters on these? We don't necessarily have a way of sacrificing them right now. I'll put counters on one of them. Okay. So what are we playing out here? We can play out the Icetill Explorer. We don't have a lot of lands that we get to play here. I guess we play out an Urborg. And then we cast the Icetill Explorer. Do we even do that? I think we just... No, we do that, yeah. So middle land, sure. I think we will not take pain from these ones. There's an argument that we shouldn't have gone below 13 from our own lands. Wish we still had that Sylvan Safekeeper in play. So Leyline Binding is a thing that can jam us up. So I'm not a fan of. They do have a life from a Loam with a Wasteland in the mix. They can go and get back the Wasteland. Oh, they've already got one in hand. Okay, sure. So they can point it at our Dark Depths, or they could... Alright, they're just pointing it at the Dark Depths. Am I making it now, or are we just going to play it from the graveyard next turn? Let me just play it from the graveyard next turn, it's fine. If they only had Swords to Plowshares, I would make it, but the fact that they have like 4 Leyline Bindings in their deck means it's real tricky for us. Alright, we're just going to take this hit from the Uro again. We're super softened up for 4th Eorlingus. I just don't think we beat that if they have it, so we just have to hope they don't have it at some point. It can be the bottom card of their library, and it still might win them the game. Up the Beanstalk. Okay. These are mandatory draw triggers, so there is a possibility our opponent decks here. It's just going to be a Lorien Revealed. No, it's a Solitude. Okay. We're probably losing our little Explorer. Sad to see him go, but it is what it is. Our opponents had the right tools a lot of times in this game, but they have been drawing a million cards, so it's not exactly out of the realms of possibility for that to happen. A Leyline Binding, you say? I think it is better to have this underneath the Leyline Binding than it is to have it in our graveyard, because we do have a Boseiju that can blow this up. Can we find a way of blowing these up? We have less ways of blowing up our lands. This is 6, 7, 8, 9. We are just dead here. Unfortunate. So there's some really interesting stuff to talk about with this matchup. So the big 5-colour Beans deck, it operates on a scale where the longer the game goes, the better it feels for that deck. And there are decks that can contend with that. For example, lands, the way that lands operates kind of comes in underneath what our opponent's doing, and it just grinds away all their resources and they lose the game. And that's really good. So if we think about Turbo Depths on one side of the spectrum and lands on the other side of the spectrum of the Dark Depths style decks, lands being on the super late game has a way of actually beating through the Beans deck. And Turbo Depths is so fast that it sometimes comes underneath the Beans deck. And lately I've been finding the triple Safekeeper build in the sideboard is good enough to get through a lot of these decks because they don't have enough time to leverage multiple removal spells. They have like one turn cycle where they have to try and fire off like 2 removal spells. And if you just have that covered and have the discard and condense the game into the early turns, they can't really deal with that. Whereas we, with this deck, are in the middle of that scale between Turbo Depths and lands, and being in the middle means that we're not quick enough to come in underneath the Beans decks, and we're not grindy enough to overpower the Beans deck. So we're kind of just in this spot where we get gobbled up. But I think that's an interesting way of looking at this deck, and why I'm slightly reserved on wanting to play a slow depths deck in Legacy right now. However, I'm enjoying playing this deck today. Let's go to round 4. Okay, I'm believing the power of Malevolent Rumble. Let's keep this. Flooded Strand on the other side, and a basic island, and a Tamiyo. Of course it's a Tamiyo. So, are we playing on basics or not? That's a decision we have to make right now. If we want to try and combo, we are incentivized to get a Bayou here. We do have a lot of lands. If they play the Wasteland game, it probably doesn't go amazing for them, but we are already kind of under the gun with this Tamiyo. I think we can probably fetch a Swamp with the first one, a Bayou with the second one. That makes sense to me. Let's Thoughtseize and take a peek. Wow. Okay, I'm going to take this Brainstorm, please. What is our opponent's deck? It's kind of like the last matchup, like the 5-color beans thing. You're not actually seeing a lot of these sort of mid to late game big multicolour pile decks at the moment. So it's kind of weird that we've paired into 2 in a row. Oh, look at that. They drew a land. How lucky. So this is going to be a Life from Loam undoing their troubles. As we discussed, this is not really the sort of matchup we want to be playing against. So we do have to respect potential Wastelands in our opponent's deck because these 5-color decks play Wastelands for some reason, and that's a thing that we just have to live with. Okay. Wasteland does nothing in the face of Life from the Loam. Maze of Ith, whatever. Vampire Hexmage, actively useful. I will take the Hexmage. Okay. The Wandering Emperor having Flash is a little bit spooky for us, but that's kind of what our Thoughtseize is going to be for. So we can Thoughtseize this away. Then we get to deploy the Hexmage, but we can't quite get where we need to go from there, can we? So maybe this is another Malevolent Rumble turn. We can use the Eldrazi Spawn to cast the Malevolent Rumble, because we need to have black, black, green available. But we also want to Thoughtseize our opponent to take this Wandering Emperor. And their life total is going above 20. Yeah, this is not great, because they're going to be able to get the 0 back soon. So their life total is going to go above 20 before we hit them. That is a problem. Okay, let's be the monster we want to see in the world. Take out this Wandering Emperor. Like, we know the Wandering Emperor is the thing we want to take out right now, which is why we're using the Cabal Therapy rather than the Thoughtseize here. And they're going to Brainstorm and flip their Tamiyo as well. A Spell Pierce. We could pay for this and then deploy another Thoughtseize. Yeah, I'll do that. The Wandering Emperor, get out of here. We have a Source to Plowshares as well. Okay, so we deploy this. Go and get our Bayou. Oh, we don't have a Bayou left. What happened to the other Bayou? Oh, we got Malevolent Rumbled over. Oh, that's really annoying. Oh, that's so annoying. Okay, so we get this forest. We could go and get an Urborg and just take the Source Plowshares, but we don't need to do that. I'd also like to take this Minsk and Boo. Oh, that's all gone horribly wrong because I didn't keep track of the Bayou. Do we need to... Like, we can't let this Minsk and Boo start attacking us either. Oh, this is horrible. Right, we will crop rotate this swamp into an Urborg. Thanks, I hate it, but I think we have to do it. We could go get the Hatchery here. Is that better than an Urborg? No, because the Urborg gives us more mana from just finding the Dark Depths, right? Thoughtseize away this Minsk and Boo. We can use a token for the Malevolent Rumble to deal with the Source of Plowshares later. Okay, so they're going to get the Uro in play this turn, most likely. Oh, they have a Source of Plowshares. I crossed the wrong one out. We'll just keep that in our mind. So next turn, we Rumble possibly hitting depths, play the depths, flashback Cabal Therapy, take out the Source to Plowshares, play the Hexmage, have a 2020 ready to go. That's a pretty good turn. Now our opponent is unfortunately on above 20, so we don't just get to one tap them, which makes us way more incentivized to block the Euro in combat. Alright, one of the cards I found was a land. Are they keeping what's on top? No, that's good news for us as well. Okay, they're going to assemble another clue. They can also turn Tamio into a Planeswalker, which means that we have to hit them for slightly more again. Okay, we just drew the Dark Depths. So we go this. What do we want here? Do you want the Hatchery? Do you want the Reclaimer? I think it's the Reclaimer. And then we will Cabal Therapy our opponent here. We'll name Source to Plowshares. Goodbye Source to Plowshares. Play out the Dark Depths. Play out the Vampire Hexmage. Are we playing around Wasteland? Are we playing around Prismatic Ending? It's hard to say. They could dredge that Loam. I think we're supposed to just play around the Wasteland because of these decks tend to have Wasteland. And we've seen Loam, which is usually an indicator of Wasteland. And if we gain 20 life, that's not the end of the world. That keeps us going for a little bit. But Prismatic Ending would be the worst case scenario here. They did not dredge the Loam, which is not a surprise. If we'd have left the Hexmage in play, maybe they dredge the Loam, and then if they find a Wasteland, then we just pop it. But then if they draw a Wasteland for turn, then we end up really awkwardly stuffed by that one. I don't like them tapping a white mana. They found the ending. Okay. These matchups do not feel good. Okay. Seasoned Scholar. Ticking up. Next turn they can buy back a plow, and we're kind of just in the dirt again. Okay. How are we supposed to get through this? They almost certainly have a blue card for this Force of Will. I'll feel it in my bones. Okay. Well, the problem here is, if we Thoughtseize, they get back whatever we Thoughtseize. So I think we're just playing out the Reclaimer. Do we need more material to mess around with here? I think we do just need more material. And then next turn, we can Thoughtseize. Yeah, you keep cracking your clues. Oh, Tamio, why do you exist? That's very much becoming my catchphrase these days. Alright, they didn't even have to buy anything back, they just had it. And honestly, I think we've had it here as well. I think we're just going to scoot this one up. I think we're just too far behind now. And our deck doesn't have the same levers to pull as a Turbo Depths deck. Okay, Karakas. We've already established we want these. We probably want access to these. And we probably want access to these things. Whether or not we fit them all in is a different matter. I don't think we want Mox Diamond here. I think the Endurance does a similar thing to the Bojuka Bog, but I prefer how the Endurance works here. Although exiling is very different to putting cards on the bottom. So actually, maybe we do want this. We don't want the Maze of Ith. That can come out. That gets us probably the Karakas. Talon Gates is protection, so we probably want to keep that. We don't want crop rotations against our opponent who's going to be countering our spells. So what does that leave us with right now? So we get the Safekeeper, the Endurances, and 2 Decays. Seems reasonable to me. Let's jam. So there's an argument to try and go super fast and just play like the crop rotations and stuff, but we're not running a deck that we can just reliably mulligan to the combo. How do I feel about this? No green mana is a real problem. I think we have to mulligan this one. Yes, you are a green mana deck, but that's not quite what I meant. Wasteland plus Icetill Explorer is a plan. Oh, I don't like this. How likely are we to draw a green source? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 shots at drawing a green source. Yeah, we have to mulligan this. Okay, this is the best so far. Goodbye Bojuka Bog and second Hexmage. Let's get Hatch in here. Brainstorm, Dress Down, Minsk and Boo, Stock Up. Well, I think I want to take the Brainstorm so at least we know what we're up against. I think that is... like, if there was a hard removal spell for our Marit Lage, maybe we think slightly differently. Flooded Strand and pass. I was not expecting anything from our opponent there. Why do we have to play against 2 of these 5-colour piles in a row? Alright, they're going down a card just to see our hand, pretty much. Thoughtseize is like a good draw for us. So taking that out of our deck is not nothing, but I don't think that's how you want to use the Surgical. Like, the Surgical should be for like Loams or our Dark Depths, really. Because it's a lot more difficult for us to win without the Dark Depths. Although going wide isn't the worst when our opponent's got target removal spells for us. And Hatchery can do that. A Verdant Catacombs. I am going to deploy this Verdant Catacombs. Get a... I think I'm going to get a Bayou. And we're going to deploy something with power and toughness. My cunning plan to have power and toughness. So we can start getting in our opponent. This also answers Minsc and Boo. And we can do it in response to the trigger. So they get a 1/1 hamster for 4 mana. Like, they do take out our Hexmage if that happens. And we are incentivized to do that. Because Minsc and Boo runs away with games incredibly quickly. A Cabal Therapy, you say? Well, well, well. I think we attack still. And then... do we need to Cabal Therapy right now? Or are we just trying to get more damage in with this Endurance? I think we're on the beatdown plan, actually. So I think we Endurance and then we Cabal Therapy away something. If they tap out for a stock up, that's not the end of the world. We play the Endurance in response. We will gut their graveyard because we don't want them to have food for Uro. Are they going to play like a Dreadnought or something really weird here? Or like a Null Drifter? It is just a stock up. So in response, we are going to deploy the Friend. This won't have any abilities, so we don't get to shred the graveyard, unfortunately. If we were doing it in the end step, I would shred the graveyard, but we'd gain this in before they have interaction via the stock up. So we've got a 3-turn clock now, and we get to take out this Minsc and Boo, I think. I would love to find a Sylvan Safekeeper, and that would be a great draw. Oh, hello, Sylvan Safekeeper. Big fan of seeing you. Let's Cabal Therapy our opponent. This is the sort of weird winning with random bits and pieces hand that we've got here, but we're not in a terrible position. Now, if we see our opponent's hand, it's just all bangers, then I guess we're in trouble. Minsc and Boo, Timeless Heroes. Goodbye, Minsc and Boo, Timeless Heroes. So, do I care about these permanents that our opponent has here? I believe that they will Force of Will this Sylvan Safekeeper. Pitching the Lorien Revealed, sure. We continue to beat down. I don't think it's worth sacrificing my Vampire Hexmage. Maybe it is, just so that we can get 4 1/1s in. But we have more Safekeepers. We've also got the Reclaimers. Alright, this Brainstorm is pretty darn good, because our opponent doesn't have any like particularly exciting action going on. Like, they can put an Uro into play and draw a card, then next turn maybe get it going, but we still get to reduce our opponent's life total here. Because they gain 3, but we're bashing for 5 a turn. Maybe we find the Karakas and it messes with them here. Another Sylvan Safekeeper, please. It worked last time, so... okay, I guess I'm just having a great day of naming the things I want to draw right now. It certainly didn't work out that way in previous rounds. 2 cards in hand. One of them is a stock up. Alright, let's get in there with a Safekeeper. So we have 5 in the air, 6, 7 if they block our biggest creature. And this is 8. So we don't have enough to kill them if they make an Uro this turn. Unless we draw one of our 2 Abrupt Decays. And if we've been pretty good at drawing cards, maybe that will happen. Are we stocking up or are we Uroing? Looks like we're Uroing. I think that's correct here. Now, one of the questions we have here is, are we doing the hatchery now so that our opponent can't draw a removal spell with his planes? I think we play around Prismatic Ending and do this at the end step. If we have to sacrifice a second land, so be it. It's annoying. Mistrise Village. I don't care about that either. Okay. A Brainstorm. Okay. You continue to draw a million cards. Like, I would sap this Yavimaya as well. Like, we're just trying to get over the finish line here. We got some friends. Okay. It was not an Abrupt Decay. That was not what I wanted to see. So we attack for 5 here in the sky. And if our opponent attacks, they will die on the crackback. So we know our opponent has a stock up. Is it worth getting rid of this stock up using this Cabal Therapy? We don't want them seeing that many cards, but is just having 5 power in the air better? Is this Vampire Hexmage where I want to be? It's very good against Minsk and Boo. Yeah, I think we just keep our pressure rather than Cabal Therapying here. We're making a pretty close run of it. Not a big fan of what our opponent can do. I'm pretty sure they still have a stock up, or is that the one they cast? No, they didn't cast it last time, did they? They cast the Euro instead. So they still have a stock up, which is what we're about to see. They don't have to crack the Misty Rainforest for mana because of our Yavimaya. Are we getting 4th Eorlingist? We are getting 4th Eorlingist. Okay. That's a little bit spooky for us. We're going to have to do some maths here. Oh, they're just attacking with that. Interesting. So that's going to put them to 8. How do we feel about? So it's going to put them to 8. We have 5 in the air. They have enough blockers on the ground. I think we have to take this. I'm not happy about it. So they have the Monarch. We get the Monarch off of them in a sec, though, which is something. Another Vampire Hexmage. How many insect tokens are we attacking with, is the question. So these have got Trample. So we block 1 here. This is 10 damage. We can soak up 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 6 of that. So we take 4. So if we attack with 3, that cancels out the Euro. If we attack with 4, that pushes damage. So I think we want to push damage. We also get the Monarch, which might be a useful thing. Wait, we don't get to play out the Hexmage, do we? Because we don't have black. Whoops. Okay, that could be a problem for us here. Yeah, we might be dead. I might have messed that one up. So we block here. We block here. We block here. That's 6 coming through. So we take 5 and go to 1. Another Sylvan Safekeeper. Not really what I want. So we go to 1, but we kill them on the crackback. So they can't attack with everything. So they might just attack with just the Euro. I think we do have to keep our Sylvan Safekeeper alive, which means it is the insect that goes under the bus. Or are they going really low? They've just got 2nd, 4th Eorlingist here. Mystic Sanctuary. So they have any draw effect, and they get to do a big 4th Eorlingist, and we die. So all our little posturing didn't matter. They didn't have enough islands for us to wasteland them off of islands either. Oh, sorry, this is in the upkeep, is it? Is there a way we could have avoided this? No. How many white spots do they have? Plenty. We can make them have 1 less guy. Does that matter? So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys. We lose to 1 guy here, so... Yep. Here we go. It didn't matter how we attacked there. Our opponent just having back-to-back 4th Eorlingist is just going to kill us. Now, maybe they make a mistake and don't attack with everything. It seems very likely they're just going to attack with everything because this is a lot of trample damage. Alright, we are dead here. Alright, these sort of like mid-range control-y matchups with lots of value and feel like a really horrible place for us to be. We don't have the longevity and grind of lands, and we don't have the speed of Turbo Depths. So we kind of play a bunch of guys, we get in for a bit, but eventually our opponent stabilizes or beats us. Alright, it is tough out there for us slow depths players. We have got 1 round left. We're trying to get a 2-3. We've only managed to put 1 win on the board. Let's go to that final round. We have no coloured mana, so we're going to mulligan this one. Thanks, deck. This is actually okay there because of the Mox Diamond. We do need our Mox Diamond to resolve, but our opponent doesn't know that, so that's fine. So turn 1 is probably Mox Diamond, Ghost Quarter, Life from Loam, get back Bojuka Bog. Start grinding. What are we putting back here? Is it the Safekeeper, or is it the Crop Rotation, or is it the Cabal Therapy? I guess we don't really know what we're doing with the Cabal Therapy yet, but it could come in pretty clutch. I think we're going to keep the Safekeeper here. Oh, I just misclicked there and hit the wrong button. But it ended up okay. I guess we keep this one. Get rid of one of these. And we need to keep this to put underneath here. So I think we actually get rid of the Hexmage because we can't cast it. I did mean to keep that previous hand. Okay. Mox Diamond. Let's get in a Reclaimer. Force of Will. Pitching Tamiyo. Alright, we got rid of a Tamiyo. That at least brings me some amount of joy. Our opponent has a Wasteland here that could suck pretty bad. Would have rather have had that previous hand I accidentally clicked away. Underground Sea. We just straight up blue-black Reanimator. Thoughtseize. Yeah. Got them. Nothing for you to do there. Now, having perfect information is pretty helpful for our opponent. I think I will play out this Urborg. And I will pass a turn. So we are representing the combo next turn. Our opponent has some number of Brazen Borrowers in their deck. Tamiyo, Inquisitive Student. This gets to block, which is annoying. Do I want to make this an Underground Sea? I don't think so. I don't think that matters. Okay, here is our Dark Depths. I will go to the end step. We have two choices of what we're doing here. We'll see if our opponent does anything in our end step. If they entomb in our end step to get an Archon of Cruelty, then we're not doing this. If they don't entomb, then I think we do this to dodge a Wasteland. Yeah, I think we're dodging Wasteland now is the plan. Make the Marit. Do you have one of your 1 to 3 borrowers? I hope you don't. Right, they're surveilling, which probably means they do have it. They put a card on top. Okay, they're just chump blocking for a turn maybe, and then they're going to have it. Or is their plan to attack, get a clue, brainstorm, and then go, but then they don't have the mana for a borrower then. They could have another Tamiyo to block with. There's a lot of avenues that lead to them not being dead. The obvious one is they do nothing and they're not dead because they just get to chump block for a turn, which is unfortunate, but maybe we'll get lucky and draw the Sejiri Steppe or a crop rotation and we can just fire that in. Reanimating our Elvish Reclaimer. Well, that gives us information about what deck our opponent's playing at least. Now, this is an interesting thing to reanimate, but I guess it's what they have. A crop rotation, you say. I will float some mana for this and I will cast crop rotation, sacrificing my Urborg. Do you have Force of Will blue card in hand? They did not have Force of Will blue card in hand. They know we're getting a Sejiri Steppe to push through, and we managed to get the game win. To the sideboard, I would like to deal with their graveyard. I would like Endurances and Faerie Macabre. The Sylvan Safekeeper, not the most important. The Karakas does have text here, though. How do I feel about the Abrupt Decay? It's good against Tamiyo, which is an annoying thing that can keep getting back useful cards like Edicts and stuff. So I'm interested in these. If we fit them in is another matter. They have Wasteland, so we need things that answer Wastelands. So that's the Wasteland of our own and our Ghost Quarter. How do I like Maze of Ith? It's good against some of their guys, but not good against all of their guys. I dislike the crop rotations for reasons we've expressed multiple times today. Do I want access to Cabal Therapies? Or are these things just more important? Maybe these things are more important. Do I like a 4-drop against the Reanimator deck? Not particularly. Like, they've got the Wastelands and the Daisies. However, this card really slaps hard. Maybe we can trim on Sylvan Safekeeper, but then if we lose all of the things that sacrifice our hatchery, we'll end up in trouble. So I don't think we can cut any of those. Are we getting rid of Malevolent Rumbles? Maybe that's the only thing that is left to cut at this point. Or we could trim 1 Hexmage, 1 Rumble. Do we need 4 Abrupt Decays? I think so, because Tamiyo is just like the best thing you can do in Legacy, really. So it's pretty scary. It invalidates our hand disruption as well. What does this hand do? It's very slow to do anything. We're just relying on this on turn 3 to carry the day. I think we can do better. Yes, this is better. We can't cast a Safekeeper, so that goes... Actually, we can cast a Safekeeper, can't we? We can keep this, but we have to put back a card. I want a Hatchery. Do I want the Urborg, or do I want the Swamp? I guess we want the second land drop here, because we want to get green. So maybe it is the Safekeeper that's going here. Although that is our route to getting the Hatchery down. So maybe we're just getting rid of the Swamp back into the deck so we can shoot for that later. So we go Hatchery, Mox Diamond, then we Thoughtseize paying around days. Now, I suspect our opponent has access to Brainstorm over there. Malevolent Rumble, happy to see you. Let's get the Hatchery in. Let's get the Mox Diamond in. We're going to see, like, Spell Pierce? Consign to Memory. You got it. So we don't have green mana anymore. What is this hand? Tamiyo is very annoying and card advantage. Ponder, like Brainstorm changes their hand up, but I think we have to take the Tamiyo here. I hate it, but I think that is what we have to do. I'd rather take the Brainstorm in a lot of ways, but I think Tamiyo just runs away with this game, especially when we're struggling for green mana right now. Yep, they get to ponder this turn, so we still have information of a chunk of their hand. Hopefully they go for some sort of reanimator plan and we blow them out with a Faerie Macabre. We just need to draw green. If we draw a green source, we can Malevolent Rumble, which either forces their hand on the force, so we get a nice 2-for-1, or we get to Malevolent Rumble, which is also good for us. Thoughtseize, you say. I will play an Urborg. I will activate this hatchery. I will cast Thoughtseize, targeting my opponent. Are you going to Brainstorm response? They did not Brainstorm response. Now we get to take the Brainstorm that we wanted to take before. Okay. Now they still have a Ponder, so they're going to be able to dig for stuff they want, but Brainstorm is something that can easily flip a Tamiyo, and then all of a sudden we're under a huge amount of pressure. It can also fix this Force of Will into something more usable, because right now this Force of Will isn't looking great. The more resources we take from our opponent, the worse this card gets. So stranding this in their hand without many cards means they're in this horrible position of, do I keep my blue cards to go with the Force, or am I trying to find better stuff? It's just a horrible situation for our opponent. They did not shuffle off this Ponder. They are Thoughtseizing us. You've got it. Do they go for our Faerie Macabre and go for a graveyard line, or do they go for our green spells that we can't cast? They've gone for the Faerie Macabre. That fills me with some amount of fear. Yeah, we found a green source though. Give me that green source, please. Let's go and find... I think it should be a forest here. And we'll keep stacking up the hatchery. We've got that to look forward to. Malevolent Rumble, please. Bojuka Bog and Vampire Hexmage. Like, it probably should be the Hexmage. So if they have a Murktide Regent, they can play it next turn, and the Hexmage can strip the counters off. If we take the Bojuka Bog and they play a Murktide Regent next turn, then we're kind of just done. So I think we take the Hexmage here. Talon Gate of Madara. Alright, I'm going to play this Hexmage before playing my land drop in the hope that our opponent wants to counterspell this Hexmage. They do indeed. They are pitching another Force of Will to do so. I will deploy your friend and mine, Sylvan Safekeeper. Am I playing the Talon Gates of Madara? I don't think so. I think this is worth more to us in our hand, because we get to blink out a creature at some point. Like, we do have enough mana next turn that we can blink out a creature. Okay, an Entomb. Our opponent is not going to be knowing what they're drawing, so this is just an Entomb and hope that it gets there. Would love to draw the Ice Guy. Give me the Ice Guy, please. Icetill Explorer. Is that what he's called? You know the guy, the bug. We want the bug so we can get this Bojuka Bog back. A Wasteland. Would you like to Wasteland my hatchery? I don't think you would. We did not draw the guy we wanted. What does that mean for us? Are we playing out this Dark Depths? I don't think so. I think we are attacking with our Sylvan Safekeeper. We can play out the Dark Depths so we can hold open the Talon Gates without having to lose our Eldrazi spawn. That's not nothing. Right, they're surveilling. Don't surveil into a reanimate spell, please. They left a card on top. They might have it here. So this turn we're going to get 5 guys. So if they reanimate, they go to 7. So they take 7, so they go to... Yeah, they go to 7. And we have 5, 6 damage. That is awkward. A Murktide Regent. That is fine. I think we are in Talon Gates into playtime. I will phase out this Murktide Regent for a turn. I will sacrifice my Eumidian Hatchery to make 5 guys. This does mean if we draw into the Icetill guy, we can't cast him this turn. We didn't draw into that guy. Okay. So I'm going to attack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's enough. That puts our opponent to 9. So reanimation becomes potentially sketchy for our opponent. Do we want to force 1 more point of damage? If they draw another Murktide, they do just kill us. Okay, I think we just attack in for 5. And then we'll get our Elvish Reclaimer in. Am I going to play this Dark Depths right now? They know this is the last card in our hand, right? This is the one they saw ages ago. Or was that game 1? I can't remember. Is this game 1? No, this is game 2. Do I play this Dark Depths out? It is just straight up getting eaten by the Wasteland if we do that. I don't think that's worth doing. Please don't have a reanimate. So we can bash our opponent for 6, and then the following turn we can bash them for 5. So we've kind of just got that empty the Warren's life going on here. We just keep turning our guys sideways. Alright, I will float a black off of this. We should have sacked it to the Sylvan Safekeeper as well. I don't think it matters, but... Alright, we got the match there. Yeah, so our opponent's swinging there. If they reanimate, we could be in an awkward spot. We're always going to be in an awkward spot if that happens anyway. So by having... So they attack. We think we're going to block here. We don't block. And then the crackback is lethal. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, so we beat the best deck in the format. That's a ring and endorsement. Did finish 2 and 3, so not great. But 2 of those rounds we lost were against very, very fringe decks that are really hard for our deck to beat. So when it comes to those sort of mid-rangey piles, we've discussed that at length. We've played the matchup twice. It feels horrible. And, you know, it is what it is. So how do we feel about this deck? Now, this is a first draft. And I definitely think there are ways you can improve it. I don't think it's actually a 4 times Hexmage deck. So I think we could definitely cut at least one of these and have a little bit more access to some extra lands I may have wanted. So that's something to think about. The Icetill Explorer was great. Whenever we had this, it was like, okay, if this comes into play, we just win the game. Or sometimes it did come into play and win the game. Seemed like a really nice place for us to be. The Sylvan Safekeeper was just excellent. This card has been an absolute star for quite a while now. And I'm a big lover of this card. The Reclaimer here, we all know Reclaimer's great. We don't need to talk about it very much. The Cabal Therapy was fine. It was something we were boarding out a fair bit, but then again, we're against matchups where we just need lots of protection, I guess, or like more threats and things, or specific answers. But I think the Cabal Therapy is fine. I really do like the synergy of Malevolent Rumble into Cabal Therapy. We could look at swapping our Hexmage for a Loam, but the problem is, the more we go down this line, the more we end up thinking, okay, should we just be playing Thoughtseizes and maybe Cabal Therapy, so like single black pip spells, and maybe we don't need the Hexmage, and then we end up very close to playing a lands build. Are we just playing lands with Reclaimer and like Safekeeper and Icetill Explorer? Maybe that's fine. Maybe that's what you actually want to be doing there. And then you get more tools. You can go up to more copies of Thespian stage. You might even be able to fit in an Urza's Saga package and have like an actual good win condition in your deck that isn't the 2020, and maybe that helps you get over the line. So there's definitely some options you can go with this deck. I think part of the problem with this deck, in my mind, is that it sits very much in the middle, right? So we're not like the super fast Turbo Depths. We're not the lands deck, which is going to be able to grind, but also, you know, does have those turbo gears. So we're kind of just in this middle space where certain things can prey upon us, and we're not doing any one thing really well. And in my view, in Legacy, what you want to do is you want to be a deck that does a thing really well. Ideally, something quite proactive that you're very good at doing. So, you know, playing any combo deck. You're locked into doing your combo deck. Now, there are decks like Nardu Midrange, which are kind of not fully into the combo. They have the combo in their deck, but that's not what they're all about. And then you've got decks like Nardu Breakfast, which are just like, here's a bunch of combos, we're going to do the thing. So I'm not sure if necessarily what we're doing is powerful enough that we can afford to kind of diversify our portfolio this much. So uncertain where to go with this one. I think maybe we try it without the Vampire Hexmages. Although we were making our Marit Lages through Vampire Hexmage, we were beating down with Hexmage, which was part of our backup plan. And we were also able to threaten to remove counters from stuff with our Hexmage. So this was not like a completely dead card. It was a useful one. And obviously, you know, it makes our 2020. But the black was maybe a little bit trickier because we only have the 3 Urborgs as well. And we have a bunch of lands that aren't necessarily giving us the mana we require. There is also an option of playing this as an exploration deck, but I'm not really in love with playing it as an exploration deck. I think I'd rather just have... Maybe we're just chilling on Hexmage. We're not cutting them, but we trim them, get another life from the Loam in here. That makes our Mox Diamonds look a bit better as well. And then we have like 2 Loams, 2 Icetill Explorers, so we're kind of splitting that effect, so we end up with 4 of it, so it's quite reliable. The Malevolent Rumble can find either effectively. I don't know, it feels like there's a little bit of tweaking to go on. If you've got any thoughts, please let me know in the comments. The donor who wanted to see me brew around this was interested in whether or not they could play some sort of slow depths deck for Eternal Weekend. So any feedback is really good, whether you do it here or in the Discord. Obviously, doing it here is not the worst for the algorithm, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'm just curious what your thoughts are. It does feel like we're boarding out the crop rotation quite a lot. Maybe we just get rid of crop rotation entirely and we try and play a deck that is harder to disrupt. So we're not offering up easy 2-for-1s. Maybe that is an option we can have, but this is so powerful when your opponent's not playing blue decks, though. That's the thing. Like, when your opponent's not playing blue, it's like, oh, I just got this amazing tutor into play. That's an incredible rate. So, yeah, bit tricky. I don't think we really used our Wasteland and Ghost Quarter, but they were certainly cards that I can conceive of many situations where I would want them, like to hit your opponent's piece of land destruction so that you can get your combo through is really clutch, and we can just do Icetill, drag them out of the game. There's so many cards I wanted to fit in this deck as well. Like, I wanted to have access to the Once Upon a Time as well, but I think Malevolent Rumble is better for what we're doing here. And we certainly have 1-drops that we can play. You know, we've got Thoughtseize, we've got the Reclaimer, we can hold up our crop rotation if we need to have emergency Bojuka Bogs and stuff. We've got the Mox Diamond, which sometimes allows us to Loam or Malevolent Rumble on one as well. So I don't think we need it to sort of accelerate us out so we can have the better turns that way. And I do like this Icetill Explorer a lot. I think the fact that it does 2 things at once is really good. Okay, I think that's done for today. Again, let me know what you think of this one. Please remember to like and subscribe, and profess your undying love for Eumidian Hatchery and the channel as much as you like. Glad to have you with me on this one, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.